Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Diamond Discussion. I am your host, Demetrius Woods, and today we are jumping into this Women's College World Series wrap-up, and also it is time for the Men's College World Series. So without further ado, let's get it started. All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 54. I think we are. Yeah, 54. Crazy. All right, so listen, Women's College World Series last weekend, just epic proportions, record-setting numbers. Like, I think Game 3 had 2.7 million people to peak it out. Like, that was the best Game 3 in terms of viewership we've ever had. We had a record-breaking in-person attendance off the charts, okay? The ratings are there. The game is there. Bottom line, everybody watches women's sports, and if you don't, then you need to jump on the everybody train because it's rolling right now. I'm loving it, okay? But here's the thing. Let me just give a quick wrap up of this series, man. We had Texas and Texas Tech. It's a battle, all right, of the Texans out there. Lubbock versus Austin, and it did not disappoint whatsoever, in my opinion. Okay, Game 1 was just wild to think about. Tegan Cavan on Texas's side versus Nigel Kennedy at Texas Tech. It gave us everything we could have asked for, and then some additional drama there at the end, which was just crazy, right? We had a low-scoring pitchers duel, and lo and behold, man, it just turned out to be one of those just you hate to use the word fluke in sports because sports just there's moments where opportunities present themselves, and if players capitalize, you can really put yourself in a shot. Give yourself a shot rather to win a ball game. And honestly, that's what Reese Atwood did in Game 1. Right, Nigel Kennedy and the coaching staff, the catchers, everybody they were locked in on giving her a 4-pitch pass, right? An intentional walk. One would ask the question of should, in the spirit of speeding up the game, since we're already doing that anyway, should that just be a hey, I want to walk her and you don't even pitch to her, right? I mean, I know sometimes that has been discussed in the past, but it's not where it is right now. You got to throw all 4 of those pitches, and the first 2 pitches they were close to the zone, right? Catcher was set up virtually right behind home plate, honestly, if you think about it. And I thought she should have been in the righty batter's box, or excuse me, the left-handed hitter's batter's box, rather. And first 2 pitches were close, and obviously, as Reese Atwood mentioned in her press conference, like she kind of felt like she could take advantage of an opportunity there. And so pitch number 4 comes through. It catches way too much of the plate, and she rips one into the 5-6 hole. And subsequently, that scored 2 runs for them to take the lead in that game. And that was bottom 6, I believe. So there wasn't much time for Texas Tech's offense to recover. They hadn't got much at all throughout the night anyway off of Tegan Cavan. So I did not anticipate them to respond well to that anyway. However, you don't put Texas Tech out. You don't count them out. Not this group of girls right here, because they were moving into Game 2. They knew what they had to do to stay alive. They go right back to their ace pitcher in Nigel Kennedy, and she was practically dominant, honestly. The offense got going, right? It seemed like more of a bullpen day for Texas. They threw about 3 or 4 pitchers that night. And here's the thing, man. I know everybody's talking about, like, Texas Tech doesn't really have like a true number 2 or 3, but does Texas? Right? I mean, they kind of threw everybody that night, and so and it worked out well for them. Like, that's why you want to win Game 1 right there, because now you get to rest your ace, and Cavan was ready to go for Game 3. So Game 2, though, Texas Tech took control. I thought Texas they fumbled the ball around a little bit on the infield. That Texas Tech really put a lot of pressure on the Longhorns, and they capitalized, and they were able to score enough to get it done. It was a 1-run ball game as well. I think it was 2-1 Game 1, 4-3 in Game 2. Game 3 rolls around, mind you. Okay, Texas gets to be the home team here. They come in. Tegan Cavan, she's dialed in as you expected, right? She's dialed in. Top of the first, no problems at all with the Red Raiders offense there. Bottom first, Nigel Kennedy comes up. This is inning number 15 that they've seen her, right? Inning number 15 that they've actually, No, inning number 14 because they only saw her for 6 innings in game one because they didn't have to bat in the bottom frame of the seventh. The Longhorns did not, right? Yeah. So inning number 14 that they've seen her. So the top of that order, really the majority of that order in general, had seen her, a half a dozen times or better at this point. And so you had to know at some point there's familiarity and then there's fatigue, right? Familiarity on the part of the Longhorns, fatigue on the part of Najee Kennedy, not making any excuses at all for her. But that offense 100% found a way to tee off all throughout the lineup. It wasn't just the Mia Scotts of the world in the lineup or Reese Atwood. Like everybody was moving runners. They're making hard contact. If they're getting it out, it's hard at somebody. So they caught her number early and they put up a 5 spot. They put up a crooked number right away. And honestly, that was too much for Tech to overcome. Right? If you really thought about like the progression of that game, I didn't even think Tech would score a couple of runs, and that's not my lack of faith in Tech necessarily. It's just more of my faith in Tegan Kavan to be able to pitch with a lead and to feel comfortable in that moment. And so I felt like, man, she was fantastic in the circle. But here's the thing, man, Texas Tech, they battled back and they made it a game. As oddly as that sounds, like it was still a multi-run. I can't remember the final score now, but like I just remember seeing it like Texas had a 7 run lead. It's late, like fifth, sixth inning, and the fans are like, they're sweating a little bit, right? So a 7 run lead, you're not usually sweating, but that's what Tech did all the year to people, man. They made comebacks. They kept the faith alive with their offense, and it was really cool season for the Red Raiders, and I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they got a shot to get right back to the Women's College World Series. But shout out to the Texas Longhorns, man, for completing this year the way they did. This was their third time in the last 4 years of making it to the Women's College World Series. Of course, they fell at the hand of the Oklahoma Sooners the first 2 times, and this time they get over the hump in a Game 3 setting. Mike White and that crew, man, they deserve it out there in Austin. So mad props to the Texas Longhorns. Now, on the other side of this thing, all right, as soon as the season was over, or for particular teams and whatnot, you started to see some dominoes fall in the transfer portal, and that's what is making this immediate offseason such a big splash, in my opinion, because everybody's moving around, right? Like everybody's moving around, and that doesn't say like just the big names. Like there are so many names in the portal right now. It's just insanity, right? From all different ball clubs, whether it be mid majors, whether it be some of your dominant Division I programs who you expected people to return and fight for another season. Like no, they're gone. They're up and leaving, and if they're not signed somewhere, committed somewhere yet, well, they're waiting for their opportunity. And speaking of Texas Tech, man, to start with them, they have had a massive overhaul already. And of course, the numbers are going to come out and all that jazz, but like, you know, what you're seeing with Texas Tech right now is something pretty special. And here's the thing. Hear me say this, okay? I believe in players being paid for their services, and I believe because somebody else is obviously too, right? So I think they deserve that opportunity, just as the coach or whomever else may be involved in the program, right? Here's the thing, man. What you're gonna find is that whoever has the most to offer financially or from a housing standpoint or just whatever, right? Whoever has the most to offer will have the most to give, obviously. However, nothing beats great coaching. And to me, that's going to be a telltale sign, right? Is okay, you got this amount of money to offer me. However, what does that mean for my development? Those players who care about that will still care about that. And I think that will be the neutralizer in what the monetary aspect of things has to offer. So I'm hitting that point briefly because I know that there's those of you out there who just are sickened by the NIL world, but it is here, and I think it's here to stay. It may have some modifications along the way, but ultimately it's here, and now obviously schools are allowed. That was just announced last week, right? The NCAA got passed in the Congress there that schools are allowed to pay players directly, and I think the number was like $20.5 million a year is what would be the cap. The allotted amount that schools can use for that purpose to pay their athletes. So it's not going anywhere. It's growing, and I think it's going to be just fine. Everybody, don't get all up in arms about it. I think that it's something to celebrate, and for these athletes, man, who are putting in a lot of time, and especially those athletes who don't have a serious professional opportunity. Now, softball is growing enough to where the pro sports and the pro opportunities rather are there, but they've still got a long way to go, and I think we're going to get there. But this generation of college softball players, man, I say take every bit of advantage you possibly can. Right, take advantage because this is a huge opportunity to be on the ground floor of something pretty big. So, with that being said, though, Texas Tech, man, whoo, I'm looking at the list right here. Right, they got Jazzy Burns, man, from Ohio State. Like, I mean, she cranked out some bombs for them this past season, and Ohio State. I mean, they led the nation in home runs, and she was right in the thick of that. She might have been number one for Ohio State. Now that I think about it, so that was a huge pickup for Texas Tech in the lineup right there. You talk about Texas Tech kind of being, a Najee Kennedy and everybody else type program. Well, not anymore, right? Not anymore. They're adding offensive firepower to that lineup, and it starts with Jazzy Burns for sure. Caitlin Terry, the lefty flamethrower, man, out of UCLA. I did not see this one coming at all. Probably living under a rock if I didn't see it. But either way, man, Caitlin Terry, I watched the game she threw in the tournament. Was, I guess, the Big Ten tournament there against Nebraska. Is that Big Ten? Whatever conference tournament it was. Either way, UCLA, Nebraska, and she went the distance pretty much against Nebraska there and mowed them down. So Caitlin Terry, man, she is going to offset any fatigue for Najee Kennedy, and I think it's good because I can't remember the young woman's name. She's actually in the pros now, so I feel bad for not remembering her name, but she was at Stanford with Najee Kennedy, and then she ended up at South Carolina, I believe, and now like I said, now she's in the pros. But I thought they were a great 1-2 punch for each other, right? And I think Caitlin Terry can do just the same there for Najee Kennedy. But again, man, that's a big L right there for UCLA, and I'm wondering, if that just is a sign of UCLA's depth in their pitching staff, right? With Taylor Tinsley and others there. I mean, maybe Caitlin Terry felt like she wasn't going to get the reps she wanted to get, but here she's a clear number two, and on some nights she'll be a number one option for Texas Tech. So that's going to be a big pickup for them. Mia Williams, didn't see this one coming either. She's great second baseman at the University of Florida. She entered the portal. Sounds like there was some tough nails there with Florida and whatnot. Won't get into all that, but ultimately, Mia hit the portal and she found herself in Lubbock, Texas as well. Not long before this recording, found out that man, what's her name? Taylor Panel out of Tennessee. What the heck, man? I think she led the team in RBIs this year, and so that's a huge blow for Texas. If you look at the way that their lineup has been built, man, I mean Taylor Panel was right in the thick of it, and so she led the team in RBIs all throughout the year. Didn't look back. I mean, had some big moments. Even the World Series had some big moments. So, that's going to be a huge offensive pickup for Texas Tech as well. Guys, I see this going. I see Texas Tech being the team to beat, really. If now again, Texas, they can return, I think, 6 of their starters, if I'm not mistaken, on defense. And so, that doesn't, they're not going to shy away by any means. OU is going to be right there. Speaking of Oklahoma, Sydney Berzon, man, 2-time All-American out of LSU pitcher. I mean, she has been really good for a really long time. Obviously, this junior season was not her best to her standard necessarily, but my gosh, it was more than serviceable, right? And so, for Sydney Brazan, man, to be she'll be the ace, no doubt, at Oklahoma. And so that's going to be a huge situation there because OU's returning a lot, all their players pretty much. I mean, not all of them, but a fair amount because they were super young this year. And so to pair this experienced group up with, they were 2 wins away, right? But they were in the semifinals of this Women's College World Series, and so they were right there. I mean, they were right there. They just ran into Texas Tech, and that's kind of what happened on that front. But either way, they're coming back guns blazing, man, and it's going to be very interesting. Peyton Tanner here leaves Tennessee as well. That was one that, again, she's heading to Baylor. I don't know the ins and outs of that decision to go to Baylor specifically, but that's just odd to me. For her to be checking out of Tennessee like that, I don't know, man. I was shocked with that one. So there's plenty of movement and some movement that's people still left out in the portal right now who we don't know where they're going to land, and because we don't know where, like that's created a lot of built up tension in a good way, right? Built up tension and just anticipation, if you will, of what's to come down the line, man. Because people are making moves, and it's kind of a lot of fun to talk about, honestly. If you're me, right? I like to talk about this stuff and just kind of see what happens throughout the rest of this off season, this summer, if you will, as players begin to move on, man. But here's the last thing I'll share before the break here. If you are excited and you were excited at least about the Women's College World Series, then you need to check out the AUSL Pro League, okay, and then the other Pro League. I can't remember the name, the overall name of it, but like they've got the Florida Vibe, they've got the New York Rise, they've got this new team out of Kansas City. It's different than the AUSL, but I mean there's a lot of opportunities to watch some softball, man, and you need to check it out. I mean, these ladies are former collegiate players that we used to root for, right, for our respective teams. And if you're just a fan of the sport and want to see high level softball, well, why not watch the best of the best out there play it, right? So anyway, with that being said, guys, I'm gonna take a quick break. After the break, we're gonna jump into the Men's College World Series. This joker is starting right now as we speak. As I'm making this recording, Arizona, Coastal Carolina are kicking it off, and we are gonna go from there. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So, like I said, man, Men's College World Series, it's on right now. So, like, as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to go turn on the TV and dial it in to Coastal Carolina and Arizona. So that's where we're kicking this thing off right now. All right, Coastal Carolina, the last time they met in Arizona, the last time they met was in the Championship Series, and Coastal Carolina got a 1-run victory to cap off their run as a Cinderella story, if you will. Now, Coach made it very clear this season that they are not a Cinderella team. He does not want to be labeled that at all because they had a hell of a season, and it was not, it wasn't one of those where they're just coming out of the blue, right? So we're not going to call them the Cinderella this time around. I mean, they won over 50 games this year. All right, crap, for crying out loud. All right, so and then they went into Auburn during Super Regionals and swept them. Okay, so they're not a Cinderella by any means. However, Arizona's going to be a tough challenge for them. I think they get it done, though. Coastal Carolina takes care of Arizona. We'll see how that plays out here in the first round here shortly. Then in that same bracket number 1, you've got Arizona and Coastal Carolina, and then on the bottom of that bracket 1, you've got Louisville and the Oregon State Beavers. Now, Oregon, no one's won more championships, all right, in men's college baseball history than Oregon State within the last 25 years. Okay, since the turn of the century. I got you guys there. All right, so Oregon State has won 3 national titles since the year 2000, and I think that's saying something. And not only have they won it, they've been in the thick of it even when they didn't win it. So all that to say, man, the Beavers are a serious team. However, Louisville, man, they have just, my word, they have made so much noise this season, and it's so impressive, right? They obviously they got through and they beat Vandy, right? I don't think did they have to play Vandy. I don't remember if they had to play Vandy in that series. However, they won the Nashville regional, so shout out to the Louisville Cardinals there. And then they get the opportunity to host Miami. They dispatch of Miami in supers, and now here they are against Oregon State. However, in this first round matchup, I think their buck stops here. The Beavers, I think they're too good. The Beavers are too good right now, and their offense is clicking on all cylinders, if you ask me. So Oregon State, they're going to be a tough out, and so I got in bracket number 1 Oregon State moving on to face Coastal Carolina. We'll get to that one in a second. In bracket number 2, UCLA and Murray State, man. The Murray State, they've got less than 10,000 students on their campus. Of course, I'm sure you've seen the memes and the posts on Facebook and Instagram and all over social media, like coach cuts his own grass and just, $68,000 salary versus what other coaches make out there. Just crazy stuff, right? Like, not crazy, but normal stuff, right? Because it's not normal. It's normal for mid majors and lower level programs, but obviously, at LSU or at Arkansas or at really a lot of these other schools that are on this list in the World Series, like they're not doing any of that. Okay, and I think their stadium seats like 8,000 people. Okay, so with that being said, like, or 800. I'm butchering that. I apologize. Either way, the point is though, Murray State, man, shout out to the Racers, okay? And I'm rooting for them. I'm going to be honest with you. I am rooting for the Racers. I would love to see them make a Cinderella story run. This really reminds me of Fresno State, man. Fresno State ended up making a run and winning the Men's College World Series. They actually beat the University of Georgia. They beat the Georgia Bulldogs in the championship series right there. And I think they had like multiple come from behind wins, but I mean they entered the tournament I think with under 40 wins on the season, right? So I mean they're a 30 something win team, and here they are. They go on a daggum run and they lost their first round matchup at that. Okay, so they get dumped to the losers bracket immediately. Fresno State did that year, and they steamroll, man, themselves through and two and through the championship series and take care of Georgia. I would love to see a story like that for Murray State. I just don't. I think it would have to happen the same way though, because in my opinion, because I think UCLA beats them. I think UCLA gets it done early. I don't want UCLA to beat them, but I think they do. I think UCLA's pitching staff is really, really good. They've got multiple arms to be able to throw at Murray State if they get in trouble. But again, I think these teams could go tit for tat, honestly. So we'll see how that goes. The last one of bracket number 2 is Arkansas and LSU. I am not picking against my Tigers, although I think that Arkansas is the best team in the country. I felt like that going into the tournament. Although they were ranked behind Vandy and Texas, I still think Arkansas is the team to beat. So I think here's the thing, man. My LSU Tigers, why not beat them now, right? Why not beat them right here, right now? See what we can do. I expect us to go with Ianson on the mound for LSU. Man, Arkansas could throw 2 or 3 guys really, and be problematic for any offense. However, I hope and I expect the LSU Tiger offense to show up and work hard behind Ianson and give him some support. So in bracket number 2, I've got UCLA and LSU moving on. So that would be the next grouping right there. So in bracket number 1 here, let me just tell you. So we got Coastal Carolina and Oregon State moving on, and then we've got UCLA and LSU moving on. I'm not going to give you guys my whole bracket pick. Full transparency on that front. I think that ultimately, I think this is going to somehow come back around to LSU and Arkansas in the end. That's why I'm not giving you guys my whole bracket because that's what's going to end up happening. However, it's going to be tough for the loser of this LSU Arkansas game because they've got to go through the losers bracket and find themselves back into the finals there. Now, that brings me to my next point. of my high level of pistivity, if that's even a word right now. Okay. I 1,000,000% am lobbying for a reseeding once you get to Omaha, because what you have here is the two best remaining teams facing each other in the first round, right? You have the number 3 overall seed in Arkansas, right? They're number 3, right? And then you have the number 6 overall national seed in LSU. 3 and 6 facing each other from Jump Street. No good. No good. Now I think it's great for like immediate just attraction, right? But I think these guys should be facing off in rounds 2 or 3 and so on and so forth. Right? Not round number 1. Not when you have multiple unranked programs. Now one could say, well, Louisville won their regional, and Miami upset Oregon. So Louisville got the right to play Miami. Great, good for them. They dispatched of Miami. Great, good for them. So they deserve whatever draw they get. They deserve whatever draw Vandy would have gotten. Right? Some could say that, and I can argue that case as well, for certain. However, I just think that reseeding this thing could really mix it up a little bit, and I think it would add a little bit more parity to what we got going on here, because you just got two juggernauts, man, right there in bracket number 2 going at it. When you've got a you got Louisville and Oregon State, which is a good matchup for certain. I mean, none of these matchups are bad. I mean, let's be honest. These are the hottest. These are the best 8 teams left in the country. So let's not get it twisted. Like, these guys are good, right? These are all great ball players, and they're going places. But I just think from a team perspective standpoint, I don't want to see LSU and Arkansas in round number 1. I want to see that thing reseeded, so that that highest remaining seed. If I'm making this argument, it's really for Arkansas, slightly because I don't want all LSU and Arkansas playing against each other early on. But if you're making this argument, it would go in Arkansas's favor right now, because they would be facing the lowest remaining seed, which my guess would be Murray State. And how cool would that be, though, right? To be able to, for them now to have to battle against this hot Cinderella team, and Murray State comes in and potentially takes care of business, or Arkansas has to fight them off. But either way, my point is, I would love to see a reseeding of this thing. I don't know that it's going to happen anytime soon. However, it's just a food for thought, and I'm genuinely curious to know what you think about that. Like, do you feel like the Men's College World Series should be reseeded once you get to Omaha? Let me know what you think on that front. Okay. Last thing, guys, here before we wrap this show up is my thought you should know moment, and I thought you should know this because I just thought it was kind of cool. Okay, so on Saturday, I got a chance to get back down to Georgia for I'm actually going to go again this weekend. But I got a chance to get back down to Georgia and coach my girls, man. As I mentioned, kind of bittersweet. Not going to get emotional about that right now, but like, we're wrapping it up. I told you guys this earlier in the year, right? And but on Saturday, I got a chance to coach them. We won our championship in the tournament that day, which was super cool. We had to walk it off. Actually, the girls had to walk it off. They had to score 4 runs to walk it off in the final inning, and they came together and did just that. So that was exhilarating, to say the least. Okay, but I got to coach softball on Saturday, and then on Monday, 2 days later, I got a chance to referee basketball, which is another thing that I absolutely enjoy doing. Like, refereeing, I got to referee some summer league basketball, just some high level guys out there competing, and so that was just a lot of fun. Okay, and then on Tuesday, I got to play adult men's baseball. All right, I was on the bump. We went to extra innings. We ended up losing, but I threw like 130 pitches that night. Just a wild night. But that was a lot of fun, right? But my point is, my thought you should know moment here is this: Saturday, I got a chance to coach softball. Monday, I got a chance to referee basketball, and then on Tuesday, I got an opportunity to play baseball. And so all that to say is, I got to coach, ref, and play within a matter of a few days. And I'll tell you what, man, if you ever get that opportunity to do those 3 things within that short time span, there's no doubt that you have learned the art of connecting with people. To coach, to ref, and to play, like, you should understand the dynamic of how sports work and the inner workings of that, man. Because I tell you what, man, I believe that sports is such a great unifier of people. Sports and music, I've always believed that. Like those are the two in a world where we can be divided in a lot of different things. Sports and music can do it, and so the fact that I kind of got to be within all three aspects of different sports there within a 4 or 5 day time span. I thought that was really cool. So anyway, that's gonna wrap up this show, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope that you will tune in to the Men's College World Series. I hope you will tune in to pro softball and just keep just diving into the diamond sports, man. That's why the diamond discussion exists, because these diamond sports are here and they're coming, man. They're coming to a town near you, I'm sure. Obviously, you've got Major League Baseball, you've got the minor leagues as well to be able to tune into, and if you want to get your full feel of all the diamond sports out there, guys. So with that being said, please let everything you do be done in love, because at the end of the day, that is truly what makes this wonderful world go round. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.